All right. Stand by. Stand by. Hello, everybody. It's bullzie, and today, as you can tell by the thumbnail and the title, we're gonna talk about WWE. What's up, Lord Wallet? How is it going? See you. Seen you fall into the chat. I wonder if I could do the hold on. No, it's a possibility, but hold on. Actually, I think I can show it. Page. It's just a thought. I think I can possibly do it, if I'm being honest. It's a who knows situation, but by the looks of things, I got 2 likes already, but only 1 viewer. No, I did not like my own. I promise you I didn't like it. I could do this. Oh, yes. As you can hear, the airplane's up above. So, without further ado, we're gonna look at the chat, which has been Lord Wallet this entire time. Hello, Lord Wallet. How's it going? He says this, by the way. By the way, I hope you watched the reaction I did on your album. Really loved it. I did. Thanks for reviewing it. And this will show this on stage too, because he also says, and I even put it on my car. Sound quality is awesome. I'm really proud of you. Keep up the good work, bro. Thank you. So I don't know. I don't know what else to say about that. About that album. I hope you liked it. There is a new video coming out about. Yeah, I have a new music video making in the mix. So there you go. Yeah, but we've lingered on that topic or not. WWE, the downfall. Honestly, like this is one of those topics that I think really needs to be covered. And one of the reasons why I decided to do the stream right now because I was like, I could do a video, but I was like, you know what? What's the harm in talking about the, that sort of stuff. Let's just get rid of this, as we could see. So yeah, shout out to the two viewing. I typically don't go live around 3:30 in the afternoon, P Mountain Time. I'm talking about, by the way. I'm a Southerner living in the South in America. Well, not South America, but North America, but the South in Arizona. So yeah, I'm in the South side of stuff. So checking chat, everything's good. We good to go. I swear to God, sometimes I wonder what the fuck's going on with this shit. Do I got botted likes? I got botted likes. I'm kind of stalling. WWE. So let's just start it off, shall we? Modern WWE. So yeah, modern WWE. So let's think this through. Right as of right now, like after, let's start with the Netflix deal at the start, because this is what I kind of wanted to start with talking about. Paul Levesque was able to get a deal with Netflix, more so like Nick Khan, but that's beside the point, right? Which, by the way, isn't really beside the point. I don't know why I said that, but was able to get a deal with Netflix, and therefore was able to get more globalistic views, kind of sort of that thing, right? So on the first show, Raw, yeah, it did very well in terms of metrics, right? Am I doing good? I feel like my shit just bugged out now. But yeah, I should be good. Yeah, so there's that. That happens, and Video Amp reports 2.6 million views, household viewership across the United States, and there's that. Also note that the global viewership is 4.9, but that's global. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about global and the viewerships a lot lately, or at least something around that's nice. Now, And that was January 1st and the 1st of 2025. That was what Video Amp reported about the household viewership. 2.6 mil. Now, next week later, it was on, I believe it was on, yeah, it was the Raw, January 8th, where we have basically no household viewership reported ever again. Video Amp didn't report any household viewership the next week. In fact, they stopped reporting household viewership entirely. So it does raise the question why they reported 2.6 mil on household viewership on that day. But that is good, right? As far as the product goes. So going forward, and as of now, in this week's global viewership is around 2.2 mil or 2.5 mil, and that's global. That's for WWE, right? That is approximately around the number they first got for household viewership. Now, if we do the math, right? If we do the math, 4.9 mil and 2.6 mil, right? 2.6 mil is roughly 53%, would be roughly 53% of the 4.9, right? So if we actually tally up if we actually do the math and how much household viewership WWE Raw is getting every now and then, I would estimate that to be around 1.2 to 1.4. 1.5 at best, right? So that would be the household million views. Just to note, this is just my estimation. Okay? Okay. So 2.4 this week. For global, we do the math, it's almost gonna be under a mil, which is not a good thing. Right. So knowing all that, so let's go forward here. So there's what we have. So I bring this up because it comes down to like, are people invested into the product? It doesn't seem so. The viewership keeps going down. Sometimes they have a little bit of a spike, but they don't really maintain the spike. Everything that goes into this is basically, oh, well, we got this, so well, this guy returned and that guy. Oh my God, I can't wait. But it does nothing for the product overall. You got Brock Lesnar returning, John Cena returning, or he already to return, but he's about to have he's on his retirement tour, just about to leave, and the product hasn't improved. In fact, people would argue it's gotten worse. Right, 2.4 mil global is lower to 2.6 mil, and the first of Raw January 6th got 2.6 mil household. Now, and this week, 2.4 mil for global, and compare that to Video Amp's report on January 6th, that's bad. Very bad. Like, now, again, if we go back, January 6th, 2.6 mil Video Amp, 53% of 4.9 mil global. Yeah, viewership has significantly decreased. It probably is even already lower than a mil when it comes to household. Who knows? I'm just guesstimating that it's around like 1.2 mil to 1.5 mil household. If we go based on the numbers I had based on the first time, right? Right. So what goes down in all of this? What's the issues with this? Well, bullzie thinks we should go back in time, like back in 1979, where Worldwide Wrestling Federation became World Wrestling Federation, basically, right? 1979, where Vince McMahon didn't take control, but he became more involved into it. And the product did start getting some improvement. In 18 in 19 or not 1882. In 1979, he was starting to get it in control, but around 1982, that's when Vince McMahon got the company and bought the company, along with Linda McMahon. So they became pioneers of the fucking wrestling world, which we'll talk about now. Right, right. So going forward is that I don't really know too much about the characters that were there, but I know for a fact that at the time there was no internet, okay? And based on the viewership, they had to tally up based on like regional areas, and there was a lot of competition around like sm- yeah, Smoky Mountain Wrestling was a thing back then. Yes, ECW, WCW, a lot of other things nobody heard of about. Right, right. So there's that, and the company has been improving over since then. Around 1987, which was WrestleMania 3. WrestleMania 1, WrestleMania became around like uh around 1984, and then there's 1987 where there's like WrestleMania 3 where Hulk Hogan battled Andre the Giant. Now, if we tally up the regional views, that is over a million. Probably like I don't know for sure. But if you tally up the regional, that is way above 3 million, right? So we're that already broke. That was already big, and especially they couldn't really have bots. And nowadays, WWE, AEW buys botted fucking accounts, right? So like basically, they follow this stuff. A lot of these viewership are botted, so there's that aspect to consider. Back then, they couldn't buy any bots, but people would tune in. People would fly overseas to buy a ticket, and back then, before they went to network deals to make their money, which we'll get into later, it was basically on ticket sales that they were making their money off of, especially with merchandise. There was no more national network deals yet that matter. Of course, they became a thing around the 90s more so, but they didn't really become a basic source of income. Their basically their source of income, the most reliable one. So there's that. So 1990s. In the 90s, it increased even further. They have broken over 6 mil to 10 mil already. They've exceeded numbers. That was their biggest viewership household wise. That was national. Around 1990s, that was in fact when WWE became more national. They've already beaten the competition. Vince McMahon already conquered the territories. WWE was basically a fucking phenomenon. It was practically a franchise. People would talk about it. People were even believing the shit they were seeing was real. Fake. Not even fake. It wasn't fake fighting they believed. It was all the fighting. They thought it was real. The Rock, Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart, all the good stuff. All that good them stuff. And hello to Arthur Morgan. Hey. Can't do an Arthur Morgan impression. Anyway, so we had those things up until Triple H and Shawn Michaels decided to expose the business. We're gonna be talking about them a lot. Trust me on that, especially with Triple H. That's gonna be a fun. But there's more. So there we have that. So it was in 2001 where viewership starts declining. So let's think this through. So after the business was exposed in 1997, if I got that right, it started going downhill a bit. Well, not really. It still was breaking record. It was still breaking record numbers and beating NFL at the time up until it stopped. So in 2001, that's when viewership starts declining. It starts going down, down, down. We have guys like Randy Orton, John Cena, Edge, who people say this was the good stuff back then, but you'll see viewership decline. and you'll see it go down even further and further. And it just doesn't get any better. John Cena is the main guy. He's trying to carry the ship, right? But it keeps losing viewership. But Undertaker, right? It keeps going down though. It keeps going. It's not getting better. It's not keeping people engaged. They went to PG. They went PG for kids. People blame that for a good portion of the time, but it didn't keep people engaged. Nothing really did. They kept losing viewership to a point where it went to 4 mil, to 3 mil, to 2 mil, and now modern times it's basically 1 mil. It can barely go past 1 mil anymore when it comes to national worldwide views. Household viewership is low, and if you look at SmackDown, it's 1.3 to 1.4. So what went down? Like who? What was the issue here? I'm gonna make sure I'm being heard, by the way, because I don't want to, you know. I'm not being heard, am I? Oh, yeah, I am being heard. You son of a bitch. Yeah, yeah, yes. Good. So let's think. Let's think things through. Okay. Why is this the case? Why are we? Because people blame John Cena. People blame the modern work rights and this, that, and the other. Oh, things are better. Yeah, there was even the time where Triple H took over. There was a supposed boom era that no longer is booming that they're talking about anymore. What are the odds? Because like at the time before Triple H took over, a lot of the blame of the wrestling decline went to Vince McMahon, right? Because a lot of the things about pro wrestling changed, right? It became less serious, but more childish, goofy shenanigans over time. People were bitching and complaining about these guys. Some people wanted these new guys coming in, others hated them. And I'm talking about NXT at the time, which is another thing to talk about that plays into these things, where people were just not interested. And like around like 2012, it didn't. Well, not 2012, but 2011, where like you think things are gonna get better, right? So they were still like around like breaking around 3 mil to 4 mil, if I got that correct. I don't exactly recall, but I would say roughly over 3 mil. That's as far as I remember. CM Punk became a megastar, at least almost. I say almost for a reason, where you'll think things might change. CM Punk, the anti-establishment, anti-hero, go against the bullshit kind of ordeal. John Cena playing the hero, right? You'll think things can change and improve. Not really. In fact, viewership was still going down. We don't know why. And one of those reasons you could make is because John Cena was still a babyface even when he wasn't the world champion, right? And this extent goes heads into like 2012, where like he wasn't even champion, but CM Punk was, but John Cena got majority of the main feud with Brock Lesnar, John Laurinaitis up to feuding with CM Punk again, right? So there's the main aspect of things. One of the things when it comes to viewership, I think you need to look at the main event because the main event is the most important parts of the show, right? So not, anything else on the show, people are just not going to care about. Why do you think the Bloodline storyline works for so long? It kept them around 2.5 mil, not under a mil, because that was the storyline people cared about. They didn't care about what the mid card title or the tag titles. They just cared about what was going on with the Bloodline. And giving them the world championship was just makes the most sense. That's what people cared about. People care about the main event. John Cena couldn't really retain the viewership necessarily. I mean, he kept it afloat for quite some time, but he wasn't. But he wasn't really a talent, good enough to even be the main guy. But he was the best as far as Vince McMahon had, and it was talked about through storylines where John Cena said, "I'd step up and I'd carry the ship," and do that stuff through promo. So there could be just one of those things where Vince needed a guy. John Cena was his best. He wasn't injury prone, not too much. He was a big guy, strong guy. He kind of was robotic, everything he did. But he kept it afloat. He was believable for the most part. Right. You also had guys like Randy Orton, who was a bit more injury prone, but more smoother. Edge, who had serious neck issues, who had to leave. Batista wanted going to Hollywood pretty easily. And his best role is being a fucking dumb retard in Guardians of the Galaxy. Just to say that for fun. And all that going into, I guess now being a soy bite bitch. But that's a different topic, right? Right. Cena has humility and modesty. Something Punk never will. That's true. Somewhat. Sort of. Because I don't, let's not mistake, John Cena has a history of being a little egotistical too. So let's not excuse him either. But we'll talk about those things later. We're talking about main events. So there's that. A lot of the main events just weren't intriguing people, especially if they're good or not. So what's the issue? How come things are the way they are now? Is it because the main events isn't good enough? I'm going to talk about the storytelling here. Modern storytelling is not good. Okay, that's without a shadow of a doubt. Back in 2001, when it started declining, storytelling didn't get too much better either. And I think that's when the time where Vince McMahon started facing burnout. And that's when 9/11 happened and the economy experienced some inflation, which is another point, but we'll get into that later as well. Where in 2001, where it starts declining, I think Vince experiences burnout. And Shawn Michaels and Triple H has already exposed the business. So we can consider that as well. 1997, you could argue is the start of the downfall. I'm going to say 2001. Now, one of the things that I noticed most importantly, Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar rivalry. A lot of people love those rivalries. I kind of listened to some of those things. Some of it was like not so serious and serious at the same time. They had goofy comedy segments where it's friendly, then they're fighting it out like it's like they're fucking Vikings or some shit. So it left a lot of things to be desired. But the main reliance was just basically what matches these two would have. And the matches was great, don't get me wrong. But the storyline was just basically, I fight you, you fight me, and there we go. Fun. That's about it. It was just basically like two guys who actually wrestled and won the Olympics, and there you go. It works in that regard, but it wasn't really captivating storytelling, right? And then we moved to Raw and see what's going on there. Triple H was a world championship, and he had a stable called Evolution. Evolution. And he was given the World Heavyweight Championship because why the fuck not, I guess? And it's stable. And basically, his reign of terror. A lot of people talked about his reign of terror being horrible. Some people liked it because it's better than the modern era. I'm gonna say this: it was bad. It was bad. Nobody was interested in it. No, especially when they had the Stone Cold being the Raw general manager and feuding with Triple H. Nobody was really enjoying it. Nobody was invested into it as much. And we also had to take into consideration where Triple H was doing some weird segments. And one of them is when some people like to forget about, because I'd imagine how this went into the like fucking one of the talks behind the doors where Vince McMahon was like, you know what would be funny? You know what would be funny again? If you fucked a dead corpse. And Kevin was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. But Triple H was like, I'll do it. Don't mind humiliating myself. And then Vince was like, oh, go ahead, because Vince had a fucking new new fucking fetish of necrophilia, or something, and decided it would be funny to see somebody bang a dead corpse, and up until Triple H dressed up like Kane and fucked a dead corpse. Yeah, and Vince was like, oh, "This was a bad idea. Why the fuck did I do this? What the fuck?" Something like those lines. Yeah, basically that bad storyline. Those bad storylines. Triple H kind of being heel, but being being entertaining heel, not really keeping people engaged with dumb shit. Up until he lost to a guy who would murder his family later on. I'm not being kind about this. And then that would make WWE kind of get a bad rap as even further. Plus, Brock Lesnar, the guy Vince wanted to build around, who barely could cut promos, and all he was known for is being a beefy, white, jacked dude. As funny as entertaining as he was in UFC and WWE, it was he was a great performer, great seller, but he wasn't a good actor. I think people give him too much credit for that. But in which, after the Chris Benoit situation, WWE has just been making weird decisions overall. And in 2006, WrestleMania, Kurt Angle versus Randy Orton versus Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio got the World Heavyweight Championship. No, viewership did not improve there either. Like, they gave it to a small dude. As great as Rey Mysterio was, people were not invested into this guy. People did not want to see him. It's the same thing with Eddie Guerrero versus Brock Lesnar. When Eddie Guerrero beat Brock Lesnar, it was the same thing. It's like people were just not interested. But then again, when you really take the consideration, people were getting less interested. And in Brock Lesnar versus the Kurt Angle matches weren't helping. John Cena versus Randy Orton, John Cena's feuds, they just weren't helping. Now you fast forward here, nothing. They're trying something different. They tried with Roman. Nothing he did was interesting with people. The best thing they had was their looks. Roman was a charismatic vacuum at the time. He was just that's all he was. He was a new guy Vince liked for who knows what reason. Out of everybody in the back, like who knows? It's all really like coming down to like putting his eggs in one basket. Vince does with a lot of people, well, a few people. It worked with Hulk Hogan for several reasons, and we'll talk about Hulk Hogan because that's a big point people need to understand. So, fast forward, understanding all this, storylines, as far as I'm concerned, were basically bleh, not really investing people, not interesting. The best one I can recall was basically, if you really want to think about it, which is to me in the PG era, at PG era and the Attitude Era, was two matches, two things. One, John Cena versus John Laurinaitis, one of my favorite feuds John Cena ever had. Two, CM Punk versus John Cena at Money in the Bank, another great feud. Some people don't like them. Some people say Randy Orton versus John Cena. I like the feud, but it wasn't really like as good as I thought it was. I mean, they had fun matches. Don't get me wrong, but it was like, it wasn't like those two. And that was when CM Punk was a believable person, and John Laurinaitis still was. Well, not John Laurinaitis. John, I mixed up the name. JBL. JBL 2005. John Laurinaitis was fun, but don't get me wrong, it was a fun feud with those two. What I meant was JBL for the WWF Championship or WWE Championship, rather. Fun match, and the I Quit match. I remember that one. Really fun, great match. Those were fun storylines. CM Punk versus John Cena, one of the best storylines I think John Cena was part of, and one of the reasons CM Punk was even popular in the first place. Some people will say, and I know this. What about Jeff Hardy versus CM Punk? It's not popular. It wasn't main event status. It didn't even do anything for the viewership. It's not something people go, I remember this, and they talk about it all the time. What people usually think about when it comes to CM Punk or John Cena nowadays is that feud, is basically that feud, their feud. Anybody that actually like started watching around this time. Some of you might say, well, what about John Cena, Randy Orton, or John Cena, JBL, Triple H? Those feuds didn't have the weight that did. And don't get me wrong, John Cena with Shawn Michaels, John Cena, Triple H, John Cena, Randy Orton, John Cena back in the day with Undertaker, which isn't that memorable. John Cena with Brock Lesnar. They didn't have the weight that CM Punk and John Cena match had. But that even wasn't good enough to carry out. But what was, in fact, to keep the viewership at the time was The Rock versus John Cena. So why was that the case? Well, for one, The Rock was a multilingual, great actor, great professional wrestler, great actor, great promo, can talk, can act, can do all that stuff. Didn't have to do two cool moves to get over. He basically just was. He was an entertaining figure. He could sing, he can talk, he can make you laugh, he's good with comedy. He basically was almost a full package. John Cena, well, he could promo, he can work, but he couldn't really act. He could just be a robot in that one spot. And that was just about it. So, I think we covered that aspect of it, the storytelling. So, what haven't I covered about storytelling? Well, when it comes to storytelling, we need some good writing. Had some of these matches been the best, especially in modern times? Well, modern times, let's be honest here, hasn't helped WWE. In fact, probably got it down lower in ratings. In fact, I won't even say probably. In matter of factly, it has. Why was that the case? Bullseye, why do you say this? Well, glad you asked. For one, you take character A and character B, and you slam them together, and then you have them fight a match. Here's the problem. Well, not just the problem. Here's one aspect to look at this. Oh, it's just a match to keep the time going. Okay. So that way people will have something to see, or it's a bathroom break, who knows? That's what it is. But nowadays, that's just the thing to do. Why? If you put character A and character B and just have them fight it out, well, the first and foremost, why are they seeing it? What are they fighting over? What made these two want to fight? Why are they there? Because they don't know why. Let me say, for example, let's not just bring up a random example. Let's just make a point that just is obvious. Characters that lead each other with their pre-established traits that lead each other to fight is great character writing, great storytelling. Let's say, for instance, one guy kidnaps the other guy's dog because he wants his title, and he threatens to kill it. So the other guy kidnaps his dog and says, "Give me back my dog, or I hurt your dog." So it leads them to fight each other over each other's dog's back. And therefore, that fight over dogs thing, makes the manager go, "Hey, there should be a match over this, but I'm going to make it for the world title." And therefore, dogs are on the line with the title on the line. Winner take all. Winner can have both dogs and the title. And there you go. There's the storyline. Basically, pre-established traits that already happened. And there we go. Stuff like that. A little example that helps the product, right? I think so. That would be a fun storyline between Cody Rhodes and CM Punk. And CM Punk sucks dick nowadays anyway. Not that he could be a good professional wrestler. I'm going to stop showing this on stage. I thought it would just be like a slide show of each comment. Not that it matters. Come on. Stop dying. Stop it. Stop it. Show comments on stage. I'm clicking you. Doesn't matter anyway. 23 minutes. We did it. We did it. Moving on. Moving on. I wanted to talk about like 2001 declining ratings. This is a big point about all this. Mind you, I'm wondering if my voice is still being heard. Because sometimes this thing's slow, by the way. My voice is still being. It's good. It's good. I should probably keep this running. Just to see. There we go. Okay, reading the comments. Lord Wallace seems to be the only active guy. Vince, he's a Samoan. Damn it, that's why I liked him. Edge and Cena was a good feud by comparison to Orton versus Cena. Yeah, they were fun feuds, but they weren't really doing anything for anybody. That's my point. It didn't keep the viewership either, especially with the sex angle the Edge and Lita did. So obviously I was like, what the fuck am I seeing, man? I want to see blood, bro. Blood. Let me see blood. There we go. So we've already went over the storytelling. There's not much story going on, especially nowadays. There's less story now because it's just, let's just have these two fight and get it over with. Well, what's the story? I don't fucking know. You right, whatever. This guy stole his banana. It's something. It's really something. Going alrighty then. Let's talk about 2001. That's when 9/11 happened, right? And that's when prices went up, and that's when the network deals came into play. So I think that I think the economy nowadays has something to do with WWE's downfall, and a lot of other companies have left overseas at the time. So we have to take to account that aspect as well. Where I don't think people look at this enough. I think people overlook this, and there's a lot of things people do overlook nowadays. Don't get me wrong, but I think this needs to be discussed as well. A lot of companies did leave overseas, and it did affect a lot of companies, including WWE. That's when the culture of businesses shift to relying on network deals to make their profits, much more so often than ticket sales for WWE at best. It was the best way to get their market. Like they had to, and also had they lost some partnerships over time because of creative freedom. They had to do certain things for some networks like Fox. I want this certain ways. I like it this way. You can't do it that way. Promote this, do that. And it did affect a lot of companies. And Vince was just trying to keep that afloat. In fact, it also was the time where Vince McMahon lost his I think there was a burnout he was experiencing. But realistically, we're going to talk about that later. 2001. You'll notice this. Like a lot of companies, and nowadays you'll notice that it's a big deal when WWE gets a contract signing. With Fox News, it was a big deal. People were celebrating this. With things like Netflix, people were celebrating this. AEW with Warner Brothers, people celebrating these things. Getting a network deal is a champion win-win. Basically, ESPN, anything that is being marketed to platforms is being championed as a win. Up until they're paying for it, so there's that. But yeah, WWE has been relying on these network deals over time. Why do you think Vince McMahon was so going to Saudi Arabia at the time? I mean, over time he was already talking about going to the Middle East because pro wrestling, but he talked about going to Middle East and Saudi Arabia, where he got loads of money in deals. Basically, it's not a network deal. That's what Vince wants. He doesn't really like the network deals. I can tell because it's subscribing to what the network wants, not what this people want. If he could, and I'm not saying I like Vince, but back in the day it was much different in the 90s where he could just do what the fans would like because they're the ones buying the tickets, right? But since that's not his source of income or WWE's in the matter, it's more network. That's where they're reliant on. Okay, network deals. I have to do what they want. That's where it comes from. Some people are like, we want to see this and do this. But realistically speaking, Vince always had to toe the lines with the network because that was the source of income. That's why. That's why you might have seen John Cena back to robotic and superhero and state remain the same for so long. And that was tiresome. And yes, I agree, it was fucking tiresome. And mostly that's John Cena's fault for not being able to enhance his character and not being a terrible fucking actor and an uncreative fuckwad. Yes, I say that. He absolutely sucked at being an actor. He absolutely sucked at his character. But he was the best they had, as far as I can tell. Outside of Randy Orton, Edge until he got injured, Batista when he left. Nah, that's not really saying much, is it? Is it? Also, Triple H being part of those things. But he was there, but John Cena was the biggest star, so what do you know? I wonder what else is being said in the chat. Nothing. Cool. So yeah, a lot of it's big. We have to look at the network deal. A lot of businesses were leaving overseas at the time, and it became more strict of an economy. Prices were raising, ticket ticket sales were up. People couldn't afford to go to shows as much anymore, so it became much more expensive, and then supply and demand were high. Vince, if you were to rely on the ticket sales anymore, it would just kill the company. So a lot of business, so WWE, to keep WWE afloat, he had to keep that, and that's why I think Vince wanted to try the XFL now. One of those reasons, outside of the burnout, was because he wanted another way to make a source of income. But he also realized people love football, and so maybe I can do football, and people come to that product, right? Right. I think that makes sense as far as I can tell. So that aspect can be covered. So look at the marketing economy. Nowadays, it's the supply and demand is much more higher, especially if you talk about the ticket sales that is up nowadays. People are less attending WWE shows because, like, shit, I can't afford this. I can't do this. And more importantly, people are forgetting they don't really need the ticket sales as much as people think, as long as they got the network deal. The only reason why what they're looking for, at least in network, is viewership. That's what they're looking for. The ad revenue, if their viewership is ad revenue expectations. I think Bill or whoever said this said if you cater to the people in attendance, you'll lose viewership at home. So even then, it became even then you don't want to lose viewership at home. But back then, it meant catering to the audience back then because like they're the ones buying the tickets, right? So of course you want people to enjoy everybody enjoy. But now people in attendance, they're less people to please. They're less like you don't want to please them as much anymore. Not that it matters, because that source of income is irrelevant. Though it might help the fucking product. So yeah. Not saying it's a good idea to raise the ticket sales, by the way. It's just like Triple H can do that because he doesn't have to care about the audience in the attendance, even though they're paying their hard-earned money to see the show. So therefore, he goes like, "Hey, pay this." So that's all. That's really what he cares about. Which, by the way, like I said, the viewership, it needs to reach ad revenue expectations. Why do you think WWE lost a deal with Fox? This hence goes back to the viewership because they weren't reaching ad revenue expectations. They were losing viewership, and Fox was like, "Okay, we can't keep them on anymore. We got to get rid of them." Boom, done. And SmackDown went back to USA Network. They were not hitting their target, their specific goal Fox set for them. That's on Triple H. If we do talk about some of the characters, though, I want to talk about the characters now. This is a big part, by the way, and I went over this already, but if we really talk about the characters, like Triple H, for one, John Cena, I've already went with him, Randy Orton. For instance, I already talked about people are not as good actors as they should be. That is overlooked. Right. He's going into this like bullzie is. Fuck my life. Of course, I have to do this. And the worst thing about it is my streamer has stopped working, but I can tell my shit is like I could tell my shit is like going through. So I'm gonna do something real quick. I have to do this, man. It's dumb. It's so dumb. I don't know why it's the case. Never mind. It's just not gonna work. He's going into this like bullzie is. Yeah, I can hear myself. That's the strangest part. Oh well. I guess I could just continue. Not that it matters. So yeah, the characters. Did they? I mean, I've already went through the characters, didn't I? I've discussed John Cena, did all that good stuff. So there's that aspect, but just to talk about it briefly, characters nowadays, that's what I didn't go into, like a Cody Rhodes. So maybe I should go into this a little bit more. Cody Rhodes. What do we think of Cody Rhodes? That's the new main guy of WWE. Has he been good? Has he been a very, very great wrestler? Well, let's talk about that for a second here, because that's one of another things, and one of the other main reasons why the product is failing. Nothing against Cody, by the way, but he does suck ass as far as character acting goes. Charisma movement. Yeah, despicable. Fuck yeah. I got the list. I'm the top guys of the WWE. I've been the same since my AW run. Yeah, you haven't changed a bit, Demi. Haven't changed a bit, have you? Also, Cody being a schmuck who sucks ass. Yeah. Sucks ass. I agree, Lord Wallen. So, talking about Cody Rhodes. There's more to it than this. So, the character of Cody Rhodes. This is a prime example of what not to do as a character. Not go through changes, not enhance yourself, not improve, not work on himself, not work on promo abilities. His promo is not bad, don't get me wrong. It's fair. It can be good sometimes, but it's just like it's almost like he got some training, but then said, "Oh, that's good enough," and then just went with it. I don't get it. So going forward though, that's what not to be. When he first started won the return, he started his feud with Seth Rollins. He beat him up 3 different times and all that stuff. I talk about this in Terrible Booking of Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is a guy who didn't go through changes, and this is also links to storytelling of what not to do. He wanted to finish the story, but here's the problem here. If his main goal was to win the WWE title, the problem was, first and foremost, it didn't revolve around it. He started off with fighting Seth Rollins, then got injured, left for the past 7 months, returned to Royal Rumble, won. Right? So here's the good part about that, though. The exchange between Roman and Cody were good, in my opinion. Well, not just in my opinion. I would just say they were good. They weren't. They may not have been for everybody, but I thought they were good. Cody Rhodes cut his fair promos. Roman challenged him, and Roman was the one, by the way, to bring up Cody's dad. Okay, just for key pointer there. So that's when the whole finishing the story kind of really started. It started with Roman. He gave Cody a story, and Cody played off of it. And they had a okay match at WrestleMania 39. It wasn't really something you want to go at home and talk about, though, but it was fine. Solo interfered through Spirit out of the Usos and all that good stuff. Cody lost for several good reasons. For a good reason, because one, there was a better storyline in place afterwards for Roman and the Bloodline, right? But not for Cody. They didn't. Triple H didn't really plan anything for Cody. But what about the Bloodline? That was Vince. Vince. He was booking the Bloodline. He was the head writer for SmackDown for the Bloodline. So, duly note, Triple H was the head writer for Raw. Okay, that's the thing to take note. So here's the thing that happened with Cody. He started fighting with Brock Lesnar. What was the reason? None given. Why were they fighting? None given. Why was Cody wanting to fight Brock Lesnar? Oh, because he attacked him. What did it have to do with the main storyline? Nothing. So next he fights with the Bloodline, or not the Bloodline, Judgment Day. What did Judgment Day have to do with getting the WWE title? Nothing. What did it do for Cody? Nothing. Why was he fighting Judgment Day? Because they were Bloodline 2.0. Well, that's not really a fucking good reason either. Like, so he just decided to fight them. There's another fucking storyline where people just forget. I forget. Bullzie doesn't forget, by the way, because he has a great memory. Cody Rhodes starts fighting Nakamura. And by the way, this is when, after the fact that Cody announced he's going to be in the Royal Rumble. And Nakamura, the fucking Japanese jobber guy who could have been something but never amounted to anything, started beating him up for fuck reasons, who knows what. Why were they fighting? Nakamura just wanted to beat him up. I don't know. So that's what not to do. What does any of this have to do with getting the WWE title? Absolutely nothing. Terrible storytelling. What is terrible storytelling? One, if you're trying to establish a storytelling and feeling, you already established Cody Rhodes wants the WWE title. He's a title. He wants to finish the story. And the storyline was based on Cody being determined and almost feeling like it's a necessity, even he said in the promo, to win it. So, if it was about capturing the title, the first thing he should be thinking about is how to get back to Roman, not fighting with random fucking schmucks, except for Lesnar, even though he technically was just a random guy. Schmucks, just to wing it. That's a terrible way to tell a story and write a character. And more importantly, people like Cody Rhodes don't even enhance their character. He didn't think things through. He was just thinking like your typical Cena, but a more less talented scale. Was just maybe what with all the good things I do. Well, I bought the ring for Africa. Oh, look at me take a bath with my dog. Yes, he actually showed a pic. Yeah, he actually showed a photo of him sharing a bath with his dog. Yeah, look at me do all the good things. Didn't did he practice his character? Did he think about how to make he knew well, who knew actually knows if he was gonna face Roman at WrestleMania 40 because at the time it was hinted to be with The Rock, but that's another story. Cody Rhodes Cody Rhodes was gonna be probably facing Roman at the time. He probably knew that. And he never thought about how to make sense of any of this. It was just like, oh, I'm Charisma Boldman who will fight anybody at any day, just like anybody else on the show. Oh, well, fucking me. Yeah, fucking great. Yeah, good job, Paul. Yay. That was such excellent character building with no actual character building. And in all honesty, all Cody did was prostituting his father's death. Not entirely. Again, people forget that was what Roman brought up. The finishing the story was a Roman thing, where he brought up his dad, bringing up his dad. Hell, this was the whole focal point about the story anyway. Bloodline versus bloodline, basically. People forget that. Don't really blame Cody for the father thing. That was literally part of the storyline between Roman and Cody. Or at least it should have been. It just was written terribly. Cody, and I pitched the idea of Cody being more menacing and narcissistic along the way, manipulative just to get the WWE title. And trying to say it's for the father, for the greater good, thinking it's that. All that good stuff. Basically, Cody is a prime example of what not to do to the character. And also a prime example of who to not have your main event as. No offense to the guy, I think he's somewhat talented, but he's not a main event level act. I mean, Vince saw talent in them. Why do you think he made him Stardust? Like, he was best as a gag. Cody can perform fine. I think he's a good performer. He's just not main event material. I mean, could he have been? Well, that's up to him, but he didn't really put in the work to be one, did he? He just was because he was put there. Oh, like he left WWE, now he's a main event. Oh, he left WWE to make something of himself. Because actually, back in the day, that was actually what made you popular back then. Just like John Moxley and your Cody's and Damian Sandow's, basically people who are Neville's and turned to Pac. Not that it's necessarily a bad thing, but back in the day, it actually made you popular in the eyes of IWC. If you left WWE, that was when Vince was in charge. So that's another thing to take into account. Cody was a main eventer and popular due to him leaving WWE over not allowing him to not be Stardust. Even I thought he was fine as Stardust. I actually didn't hate it. That's just me though. So far, so good. How long did I go? I wish my StreamYards were just better. So far, so good. So far, so good. I know, but I'm sure you understood that I meant it was since Cody left WWE when he was Stardust. That was all he did. Oh, I see. I see what you mean. He probably talked about his father a lot. Fine to love your father, but sometimes it's best to keep it to yourself. But that's beside the point. I'm gonna check my. I'm gonna do something real quick because I don't know why it's not working this way. Oh, never mind. I don't have to do that. Cool. Let me check. Let me see. Yep. We talked a good portion. So, what do we check this out down to? Well, I've talked about a good portion, but I want to jump ahead and talk about something that is more necessary, in my opinion. Hulk Hogan, the acting. Basically, the full package. Great actor. Not just great actor, but great performer. If you see his New Japan matches, he had the work right, as modern people like to say. He also can promo. He can promo very well. Very charisma. Had the energy, right? He was basically he had the look too. He had the look. Believe it or not, 6'4", giant guy, strong guy, lift under the giant. He was basically the pioneer of WWE. He is the face. He's basically what made pro wrestling popular, right? What I think is missing is the fact that nowadays people are more focused on just matches, especially people who perform in the indies. And that's what I think mostly killed the company. And I'm not against work rate matches. I think they can be fun at times. The point, but people misunderstand the original attempt when it came to these supposed matches. They weren't supposed to be long-winded, back forth kind of bullshit and super anime stuff. Don't get me wrong. I always say this. Pro wrestling did evolve to more of a sport than less of a smack talk. That's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. It's just the fact that some things are going to change and that's okay. The issue is that people miss the art of what made it good in the first place. There is a handy book and his name is Hulk Hogan of what he did. He also did the work rate stuff. You look at his matches in New Japan. He can work the strong style. He was no slouch. He was willing to do the effort. He did it all. He can act. He did movies. He was a great actor. He was on commercials. He did everything. Right? He put money in pro wrestlers' pockets, basically. He made him and Vince were basically the pioneers of all this. And I'll talk about Vince in a bit. And why his booking style and marketing style was way better than any other booker. And so there's that, right? Know this. Know this. Hulk Hogan had it all. People are too worried about what they can do in the ring and what cool matches and cool moves they can do instead of like, how can I market this? What can I do for the company and do it for everybody else that makes this a better, bigger thing? For example, The Miz. He realized the for WrestleMania, I believe it was around 27. Yeah, 27. In 2011, where he was going to face John Cena for the WWE title. What happens was he realized that it was becoming more about The Rock and John Cena. So he had to do something. What he did was, I'm going to dress up like The Rock and fool everybody and make them think I'm The Rock. Miz was a great actor. Miz was a good actor. A very good actor, very underrated actor. He can work a very good match. He can work a good match. He wasn't the best in-ring performer, but he was a good performer. He was safe, didn't hurt anybody. He was willing to get himself humiliated for people's entertainment like Vince did and Hulk Hogan. Let's understand this. Miz was a good worker. I always liked The Miz for those reasons alone. The Miz did something and it worked for the main event. Of course, it wasn't a very good main event when it happened, but he got people invested in what he invested in him. The Miz knows how. He's much more of a main eventer than Cody Rhodes. Hate to say it. Actually, not. The Miz is a fucking far better main eventer than Cody Rhodes. That says enough. I don't care what anybody says. The Miz is a better main eventer than Cody. He was at least an interesting heel. He cut better promos. He can actually promo. He can be funny at times. He knew how to switch to roles sometimes. And no, he didn't do that too much. Anyway, back to Hulk Hogan. Yeah, Hulk Hogan can do the same thing. When he was babyface, he was a very popular guy. He was like the superhero, like Superman flying around saving the day, a real American. But when he turned heel, my God, was he a fucking fantastic mean guy too. Hollywood fucking sold out piece of shit. Hulk Hogan could play both ends. He was a great actor. That is way overlooked now, and people do not look at that and go, "How do I be a better actor?" They just don't care about selling some moves. Oh, they do some. Well, not really. They in fact more about what kind of moves they'll do. Kickouts. Oh, look, so fun. But it loses its believability at that point. If you want to have a good match, I want to believe what I'm seeing. If you go, don't get me wrong, I'm not against long matches, but if if every week it's got to be a 60-minute match, it loses its appeal, and it's just like, why am I seeing it? Like, especially if let's say, for example, I like Orange Cassidy, but if you like pair him with some guy like John Moxley, have him wrestle 60 minutes, I'm gonna be like, why am I fucking seeing this? Isn't John Moxley like a main event fucking kill screw guy? Like, it doesn't make sense, right? You're not gonna believe Orange Cassidy is gonna be able to take Moxley. It's just not. But it's fake. Yes, it's fake, but it's also about we also need to understand continuity matters. Like if a person like Undertaker so phenomenon, supernatural powers, but then loses to fucking Hurricane, it's gonna be like, what the fuck? Not even just losing to Hurricane, but bringing Undertaker to his limit by Hurricane. It's gonna make people go, what the fuck? That doesn't make no sense. What the fuck? Right? So some guys need to lose easily to be believable. Some guys have to job out. That's just the way it is. And even then, some people think, oh, I need a long. You could do a lot in 5 minutes. Hell, you could do a lot in 3 minutes. There are matches in under 3 minutes that have been fun. Look at Bill Goldberg. A match can happen a lot in under 10 seconds. Fucking spear, jackhammer, make it look believable. Oh shit, that was fun. Remember Brock Lesnar versus Bill Goldberg at 2016 Survivor Series? That was like under like a minute or a minute. And people were popped over a squash. The art of matches is not what they do or how long they go. It's the believability of something that happens. Yes, it makes sense for Bill Goldberg to be able to fuck up somebody under 2 minutes, because that's what he always did. That's the idea. He's a fucking animalistic, fucking spearheaded, uh, bullheaded dummy who just fucking wrecks anybody in front of him. That's the point of a Bill Goldberg. He's just a fucking slaughter machine. Brock Lesnar, same thing. For him, it was more like hurting people for fun. One of my favorite matches, Extreme Rules 2012, John Cena. Bro, that is the most underrated match. I don't care. That is the best match that ever happened outside of Undertaker versus Mankind. But to me, Undertaker, not Brock Lesnar versus John Cena 2012 Extreme Rules match was fucking fantastic. Brock Lesnar just beat the ever-loving shit out of John Cena. And he does it so for fun. And it was believable because it was just like John Cena being tortured throughout the match. Oh, there's even one moment where it's just even funny, where Brock Lesnar goes outside of the ring and picks the referee up from his undies, basically giving him a wedgie and throwing him in. That, dude, you can't get better with this shit. This stuff is believable. You're gonna want to. You can do a lot in 3 minutes, and it's not about how long somebody goes. It's the character. It's the character and why they would do what they do. For Brock Lesnar, of course, it's going to be a bit longer because he likes torturing people. For Bill Goldberg, it makes sense he's going to be a lot shorter because he just fucking slaughters you in minutes and seconds. Of course, it makes sense for him. Makes sense for him. Right? Right. Hell, even Dolph Ziggler versus Bill Goldberg, people enjoy. That was like under 5 minutes, and people like that. You can do a lot in 5 minutes. In fact, you don't even need to do 60, 30-minute matches anymore. Why not just go back to doing 5 to 10-minute matches? You could do a lot, but nowadays people want to fucking hog the time. Dude, I need more time. Oh, well, you know what? It's not about you. It's about the company. People forget that pro wrestling, no matter what company you're in, mainly WWE, even though everything else sucks and AEW is dying in the gutter hill. Looking at you, Dave Rose. And no, you're there. Basically, is all just going to phone. All right? All right. And I think this is a good point to make. If you're going to have long matches, right? If you're going to have long matches, it can be like once in a blue moon. Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle, though again, I wasn't very much enjoying that feud. They had a 60-minute Iron Man match that people enjoyed. You could do 60-minute man matches are fine, but they would perform, especially nowadays. People will perform much better under 6 minutes. Now, you need to be able to fucking job out to somebody. It can't be that hard. It wouldn't hurt, right? I think that's a good starter. And Hulk Hogan was willing to do anything, right? He even jobbed out for Lesnar. He even jobbed out for some people. If you can't really be giving like Hulk Hogan was, and he was giving. Sometimes he did the thing of politicizing, and that was just the culture back then. But people were hungry back then as well. So they had to be like, I want the top one, but they also had to think, well, I can't lose to this one, brother. Fucking not believable enough, brother. Yeah, people hated each other because it was competitive, like they wanted to care. And that's probably what's missing backstage as well. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind the peacefulness, but it seems like they replaced the fucking steroids with the fucking estrogen and soy boy pills, soy milk or some shit. And now you got them fucking fat men, soy, limp dick like Sami Zayn and fucking like Ilya Dragunov. Like, what? Who are these people? How did they get there? I don't think I enjoy this. I don't know. Is indeed a very competent performer and good actor. Indeed, Lord Wallet, indeed. Oh boy, I went a good portion of the time. So, what is the solution to all this? Vince McMahon, by the way, I'll get to him right now to talk about him. Vince was a great promoter for so many reasons. One, he also was a performer. He worked the biz, he worked the matches himself. He was the first to do it, put himself and make himself be humiliated. He was a commentator as well. He got himself to be humiliated for people's entertainment. He knew how to act as well, like the big boss, evil man. He did it. He did it all. I don't like him, but he was basically everything. He knew how to storytell. Though he wasn't a great writer, that's why he hired a lot of writers, good writers back then. But even then, when he didn't have good writers, it was basically Hulk Hogan being a great actor, being superhero guy to keep people engaged, and it worked so well. Vince knew what he was doing. He was even the performers. He even worked matches, one of the biggest storylines of all time that made people investing in what was happening. Vince did all of this, and he beat out a lot of people, beat out a lot of businesses. Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Hi, Jim Cornette. Yeah, the fucking commie over there. Hey, Jim, did you know? Hey, Jim, what happened to Smoky Mountain Wrestling? Anybody heard of Smoky Mountain Wrestling? Yeah, me neither. Yeah, fucking guy acts all fuck. You know, he's a knowledgeable person, but he's not an expert on booking. I wouldn't fucking hire him to be a creative writer if there's a gun pointed against my fucking nutsack. Yeah, blow it away. Yeah, blow it away, please. Yeah, so there goes Smoky Mountain Wrestling, ECW, WCW, right? All these wonderful companies that lost. Now, we talked about everything. So, what is the solution to everything? Well, follow the Hulk Hogan uh, book. The Hulk Hogan. First and foremost, I know everybody can't be 6'4", but go to the gym and get in shape so that way you look believable. Not everybody can get away with being a fat piece of shit unless you're an athletic. If you're an athletic fat piece of shit who can work a match and is athletic as shit, okay, I accept it. But if you're not and you're just a fat guy pretending to be a tough guy, I don't believe you. Go fucking work out. I don't care what you say. Work out. Not that hard. Number 2, learn to talk. Learn to talk. In fact, there are acting classes that'll teach you how to talk, act. Well, let's just focus on talking. Learn to promo. Learn to talk. Talk. Learn to make a point. Learn what talking is. Learn to speak. Learn to speak a certain way. And that falls under to acting. You got to be able to switch into some kind of personas. You got to be able to act certain things. You got to be you got to be able to do all these things. Yes, you got to learn to work in the ring. Wrestling in the ring is important as far as I'm concerned. You can, though it's overemphasized, you should at least be able to work 5-minute matches. There's no excuse. Hell, I don't care if you know how to. Hell, I don't care if you can just throw punches, kicks. I don't care. You gotta be able to make things look believable. Okay, you gotta be able to make a punch look legit. That's what matters. And another one is always be professional as well. Professionalism when it comes to acting is so important that nowadays it's just missed. People nowadays, the women nowadays, even just like, hey, look, I'm partying with the gals that I just pretend fought, and it's like it just ruins it for people, man. Oh, kayfabe's dead, yeah, but why? Okay, then if that's the case, how come people keep complaining? How come people don't watch anymore? How come people complain about the women? They're not doing anything cool. Oh, but they wrestle good. Yeah, no one fucking cares. No one cares about women's wrestling. Hate to say it, but no one cares. No one fucking tunes in to see fucking Rhea muscular manplay or something to fucking do man. No one wants to see this. Get rid of the nose ring, you fucking whore. Fuck you. I hate this woman. Also, I hate CM Punk. Yes, much more. Yes, so do all those things. Learn to work, learn to act, learn to talk, get in shape. Fucking do all that. Be advertisable. Be approachable. Be grateful. CM Punk, by the way. Don't approach me when I'm an airport because I'm special. Buddy, you chose a famous life. If you didn't want it, maybe you shouldn't have been there. Fucking people who think they're better than everybody else, fucking entitled little shits. People who waited for you. You should be willing to give the autographs. Oh, you'd rather them pay to see you, huh? Meanwhile, you're walking around an airport. Fucking asshole. Bitching that people approach him at an airport to get an autograph or a picture. Vince, an 80-year-old man, can do it. Hulk Hogan did it at old age. This fucking limp dick, lazy, meth-headed looking rotting corpse can't. Fuck you, CM Punk. That's not about CM Punk. Anyway, I think I talked about everything. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope everybody enjoyed the stream. I certainly did. Talking about, CM Punk. And without further ado, I'm gonna end the stream. Thanks for watching. Bless your face and see you later. And like the video. Bye-bye. Come on, bye. Yeah, I gotta fucking end it somehow. Hold on. I'm gonna forgot my StreamYards isn't working on this thing. So I'm gonna enter in a different one. Actually, enter in a different one. No, there we go. Anyway, now bye.